Good evening to you from my mobile pulpit. I just thought I'd have a few minutes this evening. Wasn't intending to do this, but I just feel like being on a bit of a rant. Those of you that live in the UK will know the name Piers Morgan. This is somebody that pontificates about an awful lot of things in this country. Some things, I must say, have been well received and quite sensible and quite logical. But on the other hand, he's somebody that comes out with an awful lot of rubbish. And he was speaking tonight on Fox and Friends. I was watching it on YouTube. And he was asked about the Queen. And he was asked this question. Was she the greatest monarch of all time? And how long has she been on the throne? And was her reign the longest in history? And yes, her reign has been the longest in history. She's been on the throne for 70 years. And of course, he lauded up all the great things that the Queen was and who she was and how she has been an exemplary person over the last 70 years. And I thought about this, and I thought about it in the context of Scripture. Most of the kings of Israel, if not all of them, were evil. Out of about, I think it was 39 kings, I think it was about 8 or 9 of them that were actually regarded as good in the Scriptures, and they all were in Judah. And I thought about legacies. Now, this queen is 96 years old. She's at the end of her life. And Morgan said that this queen was exemplary, and the thought crossed my mind that if you've never opened your mouth in an opinion in 70 years, and all you've had are people deferring to you, bowing to you, recognizing you as the sovereign, but you've never actually expressed an opinion, how do we actually know what she really thinks and feels? And the truth is this, that over the last 50 years, this queen has been in residence in Buckingham Palace, and she's presided over the biggest fall in immorality and democracy that this country's ever known. You know, we've seen the 60s revolution, sex, drugs and rock and roll, as we used to call it. And slowly the decline has set in just about every area of culture in this country. And I personally lost my respect for her when she went on a Zoom call and alluded to the fact that people were possibly going to be selfish if they didn't take the you-know-what in the arm. And I just felt for the fact that she hadn't opened her mouth for 70 years, and the fact that she actually went on Zoom and spoke only about that subject, I found that really upsetting and disappointing. Now, she is, most people think, a genuine Christian. Of course, we don't know. She does give a wonderful speech at Christmas, and I've always been somebody that has respected her. But one only has to look at the situation in her own family. She has one son, Edward, who really has, I suppose, kept his nose clean in the sense that he's never really caused any trouble to the Queen. Andrew's a total disaster, as we know, with his certainly with his sexual shenanigans with regard to Jeffrey Epstein. Princess Anne has been divorced and remarried. Not a lot said about Princess Anne, and of course Prince Charles is an absolute disaster as well. And one thinks about this, and of course the Duke, her husband, who of course has always been dutifully behind the Queen, and as most people will know, one of the top Freemasons in the United Kingdom before he died. So one has to look at legacy, and when we hear people like Piers Morgan pontificating off, it really makes me sad to think that this country really has commentators like him that we would have to sort of defer to and say, yes, well, he's absolutely right. He gets paid £4 million a year. So I'm just putting this in a context, really, into a context politically and socially. But I do want to just leave that thought with you, and just to say that, well, there's blessing when it comes to the person on the throne behaving in a way that they should behave towards their people, leading the charge for the things of God. King Solomon, of course, was a great example. David was a great example. And those nations prospered. And I just want to leave you with that thought tonight. I know it's a bit of a rant, but it was off the cuff and worth thinking about. Especially those of us who've been, I personally have been alive as long as the Queen has been on the throne. So we'll see what happens in time to come.